My name is Aisha S1. I am a first-generation Pakistani Canadian, a single mom of 3 kids, and a recent university grad. Between my medical challenges, trying to start a new career, and welcoming my mother into my home, I have spent a lot of time navigating the ups and downs of life. It is through the vulnerable conversations I have had with my friends and family that I have come to realize the importance of compassion to get through life's challenges. I invite you to join the conversation, laugh with us, share with us, and realize the one truth that unites us. We may think we are alone in our struggles, but together, one conversation leads to the next. And this is where we find hope, humor, and healing on the Gen Xperience with Aisha. So I want to welcome all you guys here. I have some of my favorite people here, the Gen Z generation. And these kids right here have been in my house, my kids, of course, my nephew and friends of my kids who have become part of the family. And this is a really important conversation because I feel like you guys get labeled with unfair labels like screenagers, you're soft, all these kind of sensitive and all these kind of negative connotations that I've seen and heard. But I know from experience, having talked to each and every one of you, that each and every one of you defies that. So can you guys tell me some of the labels that you've heard about your generation and how you would negate that?
To be fair, like I would negate anything. I think that we are such screenagers. I mean, that's such an old way to put that. That's
true, yeah.
That's pretty outdated. But anyways, like when I was out in Kelowna the first time, I spent like 9 hours a day on my phone. Like I was grinding those TikToks. Like, yeah, like it was bad. But I didn't get anything done and I'd be exhausted. And then, you know, like hearing the stories of like my parents and like whoever else that like has actually gone through school, you know, made something of themselves, like hearing them, like what they had to go through to get there. And I'm just like, oh, like, because this isn't working out for me, like I give up, you know, because it isn't working out the way I am, like I give up. And like, to be fair, that's like super soft, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the time people think that we're lazy. A lot of the time it's like, people be like, like life is given to you. You don't really need to work for as much. And I mean, sometimes I look at it, I'm like, it's true, but it's kind of like false in the same way. The reason why I say that is because I feel like a lot of things like, especially here in Canada where Nina and I are from, it's a lot different. But now coming here, a lot of the things are kind of like set out for you. You know, if I need to get to the other side of the city, I can get on the bus or I can get on the train. Where I'm from, if you go to the other side of the city, I don't think you have business being there. You know, you have no method of getting there. You have no business going where you can't get to. So I think like a few things are kind of like given to us, but that's the new age. We have phones that have 3 cameras now. You know,
like that's why.
You know, when my mom was growing up, there was a phone that used to do this. And it's like, you know, when you get upset with someone, it's like, you didn't do what? You know, bang, you know, I got that a lot. You know, yeah.
I would say like you know what? I do consider myself lazy, but like in a good way. Like in like a good way.
You still don't have your driver's license.
You have your driver's license?
At your grown age.
God.
I'm putting you on flame today.
Not on TV, thank you. Not on TV.
No, let's go back. Go ahead.
I would say, cut that out. I don't want people to know that, please. I would say that I'm like lazy because I feel like I can get things done in more of a productive way than just like overdoing things. Because I consider myself, I'm gonna use lazy as the term, but I think I'm like, I work around things. Yeah. So I can like half my way through anything and still get it done and still get 100%.
Yeah.
Instead
Which
of
is the end
going
result
full
that we want.
Exactly. Instead of going full send on everything, I go halfway and I still get 100%. And I save my energy at the same time.
Work smarter, not harder.
And
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And I think like COVID too, like we didn't have to do everything to the extreme of like actually coming to class every single day. Like we were wearing our PJs and we were like, half of us, like we had our cameras off, so we were probably doing something else. We're grabbing a snack, right? So we're not used to like this new setting, like going to university after doing online school for 3 years pretty much. It's so different. Like you have to be you have to be able to time manage yourself and be responsible and not procrastinate. I think a lot of what I did in COVID was just procrastinate. And I think now that's like really framed how I work and my work ethic. So I think our work ethic definitely changed as a generation because of COVID, because we didn't need to work because we were just doing the same thing every day, all day, you know? So I think that's like a big part of us as well. So I don't know if it's lazy, but I think our brains have like rewired ourselves to not want to do it, not have to do it, because you're in bed by like 3 on TikTok, and like that's why we're on social media for so long, right? Like I know
It's so easy to procrastinate now.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to be bored with the amount of stuff like at your disposal in terms of like social media, video games, whatever. Like it's easy to put off tasks. I think, and that's how people can perceive us as lazy. I can definitely see how people view it that way.
Yeah. But let's, you guys have to give you guys a lot of credit in terms of understanding. My generation was not on phones. We didn't learn on phones. Computers had just come in. Your generation is all media, is all phones. Even class assignments, your teachers have a group text and things like that. So I feel like you guys aren't giving yourself enough credit in the fact that, you know, even putting my kids through school, a lot of kids didn't have phones. And at the time, the challenge was, do we get our kid a phone? Do we not get our kid a phone? How young, how old is that? But the problem that is if you don't get your kid a phone and he doesn't learn all these skills that he needs to learn, he's far behind the other kids who learn through trial and error, whether that's TikTok or Instagram, or back in my day it was Facebook. But even just creating these stories, like you having returned to university as an older, mature adult, what my counterparts could do with their assignments, with figuring out research paragraphs, that and all that sort of stuff. It took me months and months and months to learn. So you guys grew up on these phones, so kind of you have to give that some allowance. What do you think about that, Brock?
To be fair though, like I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that we're lazy per se. I think that like as technology evolves, like what do you want us to do? Like not use it? Like it's at our disposal. Like that's what we're supposed to do. Like I'm sure like every generation as they go down the list, like your parents probably called you like lazy, right? They're like, oh, we didn't have cars to get from like point A to point B. Like we had to do this, especially coming in as immigrants, right? Like they had a way less version of technology than we have here in Canada, and generation to generation that technology evolves. And then what are you going to do? Like tell us not to expedite these processes that can definitely be expedited for, right? Like you want me to write down notes when I can literally just like record the entire lecture and then have an AI like write it for me. Like it just expedites my process. And I think, to be fair, that other generations just get like jealous of the technology that evolves past that point, and then we're going to be calling our kids like lazy or whatever, right? Because AI is going to be writing their essays or whatever it is, and then something else is going to happen to the next generation, and we're going to be like, oh, these are like technologies we didn't have that makes these processes faster. Like this is, you know what I mean? This is really cool that you guys have, but like it's making the time shorter, which makes it seem lazy, if that makes sense.
No, the problem isn't that like we have all this technology disposed like to our disposal, you know, and we accomplish the same things as generations before us. The thing is that like the tasks themselves get so much easier, you know. We have like tools make the job easier. That's what like why we invent them, you know. And the fact that we have the technology we do now, and we're accomplishing the same things that like their generation did and so on, is such a disappointment. Like I'm not gonna lie. If it wasn't for things like ChatGPT, hopefully my teachers don't want us to do this. If it wasn't like for like ChatGPT like that, I'd be as dumb as Brock. But
No, that's his age. It's just his age.
But like it's that technology that's like, it helps me to be able to like everything last minute, you know. I don't have to look at an assignment. I can get, you know, Siri to explain it to me if I really wanted to and stuff like that. But we can accomplish so much. But because we're like, this is the finish line. Once I complete this, my job's done. Like that's that.
No, but that varies individual to individual.
Yeah,
with the technology like we have right now, like we've had so many like breakthroughs recently. Like 100%. It's actually been like absurd, right? Like genome sequencing that's happened in the last like 20 years, right? Like that's technology that our parents didn't have.
Can you expand what genome sequencing is? The general population in the room does not know
I know
what
it is. I just want to make sure you know what it is.
Okay, but like tell us what it is.
I think that's the wrong podcast, Ethan.
We are the wrong
Gen
place.
Z, yeah.
But I see what you're saying is that.
I get it now. I was
Right.
behind.
Like that's, Ethan just whipped me off track, but like that's what I'm saying.
And I think to each person, like to label all of you guys with the same brush is unfair. I really think it's unfair. Each and every one of you has dreams, has goals, has things that they want to achieve in their future. How you go about it, whether Nina wakes up and does like a 3-hour study-a-thon and she still aces the test maybe 3 hours before the actual test. She still got the A, so it doesn't matter how she does it. And maybe Aman's going to start studying a week before and kind of start getting little things done. The end result is still the same. She's still going to work towards the future that she wants. Whether, you know, whatever that future is, I mean, obviously you guys are very young, and so if you guys want to explore that, that's a whole different conversation. But to say that the whole generation is extremely lazy because of technology, back to Brock's point, why would you not use that which is accessible to you?
No, I'm not saying don't use it, but like it does matter that like she gets 100% a day before the test, she can get 100% a week before test studying. Like that stuff is mind-blowing that you're able to accomplish that in that short time. Imagine how much you can accomplish if you actually like put in the work all year round, you know? Because like the way I see it, I mean, obviously I didn't grow up in like the 30s like you did or whatever it was.
30s.
But
She will
like,
kick you out of your house. You sleep on the street.
yeah, please don't kick me out. But like we the curriculum for schools, for instance, right? I don't think it's changed that much in the last 16 years, you know? But like look at how much technology's changed in the last 16 years, you know? The amount of improvements that's been made in those fields. I'm saying the advancements made by the few, like the very few people that Brock is talking about, those people that, what was that word you used?
Genome
sequencing, like whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, words, by the way.
Whatever the hell that was.
As a collective, we don't know.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Like that's accomplished by so little of the population, you know?
No, but the point of bringing that up was technology nowadays acts as a catalyst to expedite those scientific processes, which would have occurred so slowly if we didn't have the technology we have now.
Yeah.
Even things like Facebook, like that would not have occurred because that was like two dudes in a dorm, right? Cooking that up on a laptop, right? That's what happened, right? Like they didn't have that, and I think that old generations, they're like, oh, things aren't going the same way that like my generation had it. Like this new one, like a bad way to do it. But like just because you guys were like diagnosing cancer with like a rock and a chisel, like doesn't mean like you should be doing it the same way. You know what I mean? Like
no, the problem isn't that we can't use this technology, we shouldn't use this technology. It's that we think that, what the hell are you guys doing? We think that like our growth and advancement should be linear, should be a straight line of growth, you know? But the thing is,
You're not a professor.
Sorry, okay, not all of us don't have our driver's license. I'm just kidding. But like we think that should be linear, but the thing is, it shouldn't be. It should be like an exponential graph where it grows, like the slope gets higher as technology advances. We're able to accomplish more things.
But I think we're also still, like all of us our generation's still in uni and stuff. Like we can't, like we're not at that stage where we get to show all like this fruit we've grown, right? Yeah. So right now, like we say all this stuff like we're lazy and we're stuff like that, but it's because we haven't had the actual opportunity to go out in the field and show what we can do with the technology that we can do, right? Like so right now, it's like, yeah, we have the technology and we're lazy or we're procrastinating because we know AI can do it and stuff like that, but we don't see how those people react in the real world because, you know, university is just that first taste, but you're still in school. So I think once we see where all the chips fall, right, and how technology has in COVID and all that stuff has influenced us, then we'll see, are we a lazy generation? Is there exponential growth? Because we're like, how old is Gen Z? We're just growing up now, right?
I'm still 17.
Right? I turned 20 yesterday. What are you talking about? Shout out to my birthday. Personally, I'm old.
But like, so I don't think like, right, people are still going to med school. People are still haven't even touched like law school, like all that stuff. So we haven't even seen what we can do with technology yet. So to like paint this brush that we're all lazy and we should have this exponential growth, like no 14-year-old is gonna like find the cure to cancer because they're 14 and they probably have bedtime at 8 o'clock. So like, I think that that's a wrong way to put it. Because I think in 20 years, now we can judge our group. And then, but I think also every generation judges the generation below us. Like I know when we're adults, like, right? Yeah. So like, of course, people like in the older generations would be like, you guys have technology and this is like, you guys are just bad. Like you guys are lazy now. You guys have everything to do this stuff for you. But at the same time, like when the next generation comes, we're gonna have like VR or whatever that is, virtual reality, and we're gonna have AI just be a part of life since kindergarten. And we're gonna blame that generation, be like, wow, look at you guys, like we built technology and we kept advancing. You guys aren't advancing anymore, right? Yeah, no, I get that, and that's like 100% valid. This may be a little bit redundant, but like the problem is, like for me personally, uni is like my side hustle out there. Like
university is fake.
Mom, cover your ears.
University is fake, guys. University is a fake place.
Like I'll study for midterms a couple weeks for a midterm, a couple like a week, you know, maybe a couple of days for tests, you know, whatnot. My thing is, imagine how much more you can do, how much more you can know if you put that effort in all the time. Like not obviously 24/7, but like my thing is we have it so easy and we don't take advantage of it. We use it to our leisure, not to our like
No,
advantage.
but like I think that's where like we differ here is like you can use it to get 100%. Like if Nina and Iman use the same technology and they both get 100%.
Exactly.
Nina studies a month out and Iman studies the day before, they both get the same grade. Eventually though, Nina actually developed an understanding of these concepts and she'll be able to actually practically use those in a workforce or in whatever passion project she has. Whereas Iman, at some point she'll hit a plateau or she'll hit a wall where she doesn't understand those fundamental concepts that whatever the education is trying to teach. And she'll hit that wall. And then you'll see the acceleration of Nina's growth, whatever, through her career or whatever it is, like rapidly compared to everyone else. And that's where you see everyone has access to the same technology, the same internet. Literally, like the reserve of human knowledge is at the like tip of our fingers at any given point in time, right?
Yeah, it's about how you
But
think.
like, who's gonna use it? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone has
How you
access to it, so you can't even call it unfair, right?
And I think some of that comes in with the parental guidance. So I want to ask you, Jahan, like, do you think that your parents prepared you enough for getting out there in the world and achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve? And that can be anything from relationships, friendships, like what is it that you want?
So like, you're asking, do I think my parents did a good job of preparing me?
Do you think that do you think that they prepared you enough with allowing you to go through difficult times kind of by yourself, or, you know, being there with you? Like, how do you feel about going out there in the world and achieving anything that you want?
Yeah, I think they granted me enough independence where I could kind of grow as my own person and not have to rely on them too much.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say I feel prepared for stuff. And I think they've definitely done a good job with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Like, here's another question for you like that, is that, do you think the most of your like social knowledge, academic knowledge, and all that stuff was taught to you inside the household or out there in the world?
What are you learning outside when you walk down the street? What? You're learning on the inside.
No, I agree
No,
with that.
I'm saying her question was how well does he feel prepared? I'm saying how much does your household, how much does your family actually play a role, and how much do like older generation actually play a role in that? I'm saying, like, I want to hear his answer
I
first.
think they play a huge role because people's personalities are mostly defined by the closest people they spend times with. And
That's true, yeah.
I would say for sure those are my parents.
Yeah, especially like if you're growing up, the mannerisms that you see your parents do, you try and imitate. My mother listens to Luther Vandross every day. It's at the top of my playlist. You know, those are the mannerisms that she does that I do. You know, but to tie back to what you said, it's like how much is at home and how much is in the real world type thing. Personally, for me, I kind of see it as a 60-40 split. The reason why I say that, I feel like at home you're given the personality to be able to know how to feel in certain moments. When you're outside, you actually feel those, you actually go through those experiences. So for example, my mother always taught me growing up, I used to scream at her a lot. This child to this day will not stop giving me hell. It's okay. She's the youngest sibling. That's what happens. That's what happens.
To be fair,
but my mom sat me down one day and she said, you need to remember you are the older person. When I'm not home, this kid looks to you to go to the top shelf. This kid looks to you to know where to plug the TV in when she wants to change the channel, right? So when I went into real life, the lesson that I learned from that is you should be able to be patient and understand and listen to what other people are saying to you so that you can react in a better way. Don't just get angry. So I remember I came, when it was even in Canada, someone was just like really they were just so loud for no reason, just screaming at me. And I could have said to myself, okay, I'm just gonna slap you or I'm just gonna get really angry at you. But I remember my mom sat me down and she said, when people scream at you like this, decompress and reassess the situation. I said to that person, you know what? You're clearly not in the position to talk to me the way you are right now. Emotionally, you're not ready to have an educated conversation. I left. So I think it's a 60-40 split because you have to know how to deal with it, and then in the real life, you actually deal with it. Yeah. So it's like, it's like 60-40 for me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think parents don't necessarily prepare you for like given circumstances, but they give you like a guideline or like a pathway. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same sort of problems that occur in every generation, just a new coat of paint on it.
Exactly.
If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like now people are shouting at you over the internet, right? Back in like my mom's generation, they just shouted at you in person or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, people are still shouting at you. So like, my parents don't completely understand what shouting at you over the internet is, but like the same like methodology applies, right? Of like decompress, reassess, right? And that will always be true. Like those sort of like universal truths of parenting. Yeah. They won't be able to teach you how to deal with people over the internet, but they can teach you how to deal with like angry people. You know what I'm saying? And that's where like the parenting comes in of like, they won't be able to teach you all the little nuanced situations that you're going to encounter, but the big picture stuff, they're going to teach you like the tools of how to navigate those situations.
Exactly. Kind of like how we're talking about like technology, like the tools are given at home.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we work on it outside.
100%. But like it's those morals and those values and that like core knowledge of like, this is how to use the tools. And then you may use the tools to build whatever you want after that. But these are the tools, you know what I'm saying? But it's like every generation is going to be like the same problem, different coat of paint, you know what I'm saying? Like same different, like same different.
Yep.
The same
Yeah, no one's gonna understand that.
I think the hope really for, I mean, speaking as the only parent here, is the foundation of your kid is solid. I can't say what you guys are all going to go out there and experience because I don't know what you guys, you guys just went out last night. I haven't, I can't say what challenges you experience, what issues you may come upon, whether they're serious or they're non-serious. But hopefully when you think back about it and you think about the values that were taught to you, hopefully that gives you a little bit of structure and a little bit of a path forward on how you're going to navigate and negotiate that. And I've had the good fortune of seeing all you guys handle situations that came at you and you did extraordinarily well. And those situations were brand new, your parents didn't go through them, but you had the foundations to go through it and you had a pretty clear idea of what you wanted to do. So going forward, hopefully you're equipped with all of that. What do you guys think about that period or that aspect of having that foundation?
I'm so much of a nurture over nature person. Like, here's my like kind of evidence to support this. Brock, Iman, and I grew up in the same household, and we are all completely different people. Iman is like the nerdiest nerd you'll ever see in your life, but like head in the books.
And then like,
on the other side,
sometimes. I hang out with people.
I had dinner yesterday.
Imaginary friends don't count. Let's go.
Your takeaways are not the same.
Let's go. I'm done.
They're not the same.
But then like on the other side of that spectrum, you got like Brock, who's really good socially, but like.
There's no cons. Brandon is a single con. What's our weakness?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, let him finish. Go ahead.
I dare you.
So let's, okay, you guys don't know what I was gonna say there, but like.
No, finish your statement.
Yeah, finish that.
Okay, Brock's an idiot. That we want me to say Brock's an idiot.
We know that you're brothers now, but keep going.
Yeah, what's genome sequencing?
Go back to
that's crazy.
Okay, go.
And then like there's me, which is like, best of both worlds. But like Shut up. My point is that like when I realized I should kick into this like gear for school, wasn't because my parents were like, you should study. It was I had this test. It was a science test in grade 11. So like right 1 year before you're applying with the uni. And I failed it, like completely just bombed that stuff.
was there.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. I bombed that stuff.
Depressed.
Yeah, so it was a tough go. And then I realized like I'm gonna grow up on daddy's money, like this is not gonna end well for me. And that's when I realized like I gotta study. And that came at grade 11 for me. You've been a grinder your entire life. He's been an idiot his entire life. Like it's been like this all the way through. But my point is that like most things I've learned, Mom, I love you so much. Most of the things I've learned has just been like making mistakes and learning from mistakes. It's good because your parents provide a safety net for you, but necessarily that they shape you, they teach you that kind of stuff. I think you learn most of those lessons from the actual world.
And I think like now, like parents can't hide from us stuff. Like we have phones, we have like friends who have phones, right? Like they can ban us or whatever, but we're gonna figure it out. We're like they can't hide. So it's like it's so important. Like, and I know obviously I'm not a parent, so it's definitely gonna be difficult. But it's like imperative that parents don't just like reprimand and like this is the way it is, because then you are just gonna learn from the outside world and you're not gonna have that foundation. So it's important for parents to be open. Like I know Mom has done like a good job of like having those sit down conversations and being like, my door is always open, because then when you see something online or when you see like this article or whatever it is, right? you can go to your parent and ask, hey, what's the belief about this? Like, how do I approach the situation, right? Like, they might not know because they're not in the age of technology, but they also can instill you with their, like, the values that they want to instill you with, and parent you while also supporting you in your, like, journey, right? Because this new technology age is something that they'll never know. They don't know how to, like, figure things out, or not really, but I mean, like, they won't know. All
right, let's
they don't know anything.
Have y'all seen your mom's phones? Dude, my mom's font is so big.
No,
It's like so big.
wallpaper's been the same
what are you
since
doing?
07. Like, what's going on?
I was using my mom's phone for maps, and I scroll down because I thought it was my phone, because like I'm trying to like direct. I'm like, I thought I got a message. I just see like a name like so big. I'm like, you don't even wear glasses. Why do you?
How do I turn off my Bluetooth? Just open the settings app and turn off Bluetooth from there.
Sitting there, the phone.
I'm like, oh, queen.
So it's like so easy to like hide things, right? Like our parents, we're teaching them how to work technology. We can hide things so easily. So I think, like Jamal asked the question to Jahan, like, is it the real world or is it your parents? I think it's, if parenting is done in my version of correct, you know, it's kind of both in terms of you figure things out in the real world, but you can come back and ask questions and figure out how that shapes you, how that affects you, how to bring your A game to this new stuff. And that's like, I don't know, that's my opinion on it.
I think for like me, a lot with like parenting is, I think every generation, Mom, I'm sure you could probably speak to this, like they think that like their new spin on whatever the issue is, like their parents won't understand. You know what I mean? Like peer pressure, for example, right? Yeah. Like that happened in your generation, happened in our generation. Ours is like over the phone now, right? Or it's over Snapchat, where you might not have that spin. I'm like, oh, my mom wouldn't understand. Like, but the core issue there is peer pressure. My mom understands peer pressure because she went through the same thing, not the exact same way we did, right? But my mom understands peer pressure, and she's gonna teach me about how to handle with that. And then no matter what spin gets put on it, I'll be able to deal with that. But I think like being, you know, young or whatever, you go to like, oh, my mom has no idea what she's talking about. Like this is on Snapchat now. Like my mom doesn't know, you know what I mean? Like this is so different. Like she did like don't do things the same way now. So you kind of, whatever you say is like sort of null for a while, and then you like hit a few walls. You're like, oh, like maybe what she was saying was like sort of right. Like maybe there's a new spin on the solution or whatever, right? That she's kind of been saying. But like the core things she was trying to get at still applies nowadays. You know what I mean? And I don't want to. Same poop, different butt, you know what I'm saying? To go back to that.
So going forward, what do you guys think in terms of like all the challenges that we see on the news in terms of global warming, the hacking situation of the phones getting hacked, and all these, you know, economies down? What are some of the biggest challenges that you see for your future as you guys grow up, as you guys get out there in the world? Maybe if you choose to have a family or not choose to have a family, what are the things that maybe cross your mind because you're at that age now? Jahan, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned it, economics, like the financial situation that a lot of us face right now as young people growing up, just even buying a house, finding a place to live is a real big challenge, especially here in Canada for sure. Like, so I think a lot of people are struggling with that right now, and it will probably only continue to get worse. So I feel like we can all kind of relate on that. Yeah. Thinking like, even you're talking about having a family too, like, is that even affordable for a lot of people now? Because kids are expensive, you know, like especially Jamal.
I was the only one that had a job, okay? Let's calm down a little bit. Sorry.
Ethan, what's your thoughts on
the job? Let's calm down there.
Well, I'll tell you, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts on the future, I feel personally that the future has a lot of potential, right? There's a lot of potential in terms of the future. I know for a fact that some things are going to be a little bit out of, not say out of reach, but a little bit harder to grasp than like the generations before. But I feel like that's kind of just the way it is. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure when you were about to buy this house, you're probably like, oh, there's the challenge of this. You know, like we all have those challenges. Challenges are going to happen. So for me, I think personally for my future and the goals I have set up, it's kind of just about put yourself in the position to learn and put yourself in the position to grow from it. Because if I keep saying to myself like, oh, I'll tackle that in the future will come and I don't know how to tackle it. So like even now I started a business, I have no idea how to do a business. I know how to make music, that's all I can do. Give me a piano, I'll do some great stuff right now. But when it comes to business, I don't know how exactly to navigate. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know all these things. But I said to myself, you know what? I'd rather do it now and gear myself up through failure while I'm 20 rather than when I'm 60 and I'm still failing at stuff. You know, my dad literally told me something very interesting when I went to go see him. You know, he told me, he said, I wish I was making the money I'm making right now when you were still a kid. And I asked him, like, why is that? He's like, because then I would have been more financially set up for you guys when you're older now. I could have been giving you guys properties to be paying for your tuition rather than me going outside to give you that money for, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's my biggest lesson in life is I'm so ready to fail right now so that when I'm 60, I can just look at the color of my Maybach and be like, I hate that. And just change it, you know what I mean?
But like, ask my mom's question though, like, everyone always thinks like the next generation is so daunting. They're like, oh, like this crisis is coming up, right? Like this is going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And then not to say that like, you know, global warming isn't like a big issue right now. Obviously there are things like economic hacking and whatnot and downfall of our economy and things like that aren't like happening now. But we always like kind of pull through, right? Like a couple of years ago, like we were like the Cuban Missile Crisis was like a huge deal, right? Like people were buying bomb shelters and stuff, and it was like, oh, this is the end of the world. And then like a generation goes by, and like we're like, you know, we found solutions to this. And I'm sure back in the days, they're like, oh, we don't have enough space in these cities to live here. And then people found new technology to go live elsewhere, right? And they expanded and whatnot. So everyone's always like, there's going to be a crisis, there's going to be a crisis. And then technology evolves and people evolve and we change and then we find solutions to those. So it seems daunting like right now, sitting at 21, right? Looking to like, how am I going to buy a house? It's so expensive now. And then we're going to find a solution.
It's going
to,
it's going to figure itself out.
Yeah. Really absolutely love you, but completely disagree.
Okay. I just had to slide that in there.
Yeah, Jamal's just the antagonist of the group, honestly.
Yeah, no, I'm going for you, gunning for it. But living like year to year saying, oh, we will make it through, we'll scrape by, like stuff like that is such a terrible mindset to have. Like my biggest fear when it comes to future planning is like as a generation, not just me as a personal person. Individual.
Yep.
Is quite frankly technology. I think that like I become so lazy in the sense that like to get food, to order food, all I have to do is go to skip the dishes, click on something, and then it's all done for me. You know, even going to McDonald's, there's those little screens. You know, you don't even need cashiers anymore. Yeah. You know, like we're slowly eliminating more and more jobs, creating like more too. You know, with higher end software things and stuff like that. But to me, like I would love to go into a field like I don't know. Like, let's just say business, for instance, you know, accounting, for instance. At one point, I'm scared that this is just all going to be automated, you know, that getting a job is going to be so difficult for me. You know, I have to choose between what I want to do and what I feel like I should do because that's
what's available.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so like my saying is that like me. What am I trying to say here?
Take your time.
Completely lost my thought there.
Scared of technology.
No. Yeah, scared of technology.
Scared of technology.
Yeah.
But with with global warming and the whole environmental crisis as well, like you had mentioned, I think as a generation, like now, we kind of got this consensus of bring your own water bottle. You know, like slowly position yourself in like recycling. You know, I'm noticing a lot of people my age carry these. I was gonna say big A, but these big, what is it called? Stanleys, those big 1 liter, 2 liter bottle thingies, you know? So like, I think as a generation, in terms of the environmental crisis that we're facing, we're kind of like, it's in the back of our minds. It's not really like in the foreground, but we're still taking those precautionary measures, you know? Like right now, I was telling, like Nina's going to be driving soon, so I'm telling you, get a smaller car. You don't need a truck. You know, what do you need a truck for? You know what I mean? Like, lower your consumption. You know, at home, mom will say, I'm going to turn off the fire for now because this week is going to be hot. You know, it's just those small little things that we're slowly putting in place to
also
become
like the
norm.
news cycle. Like, it's just constantly like spitting out like this is happening and that is happening.
Yeah, it's always spitting out these horrible things like, oh, if we don't change by this, we understand.
Low key, like at least for me, I feel I got like so numb to it. Like
that's what I'm saying.
No joke. Like in Mexico, they just announced like aliens, like and I just didn't even think. I scrolled right by. Not even like a
aliens. I'm
like the U.S. government.
Yeah, just another day, you know.
U.S. government.
Yeah, but what you're saying that's my challenge. Like yes, in my generation, there was challenges. We did have economical crises, we had environmental crises, but it wasn't in our face. When you guys wake up, your phones are immediately alerting you to what's happening in Ukraine. Where was the newest earthquake? Was this global warming? Which prime minister was almost assassinated? Which universities are closing down? How high is tuition going? How high is housing going? And this generation would typically, like my generation, when we were at your age, you'd be moving out, you'd be getting out there, finding your own apartments. But because now, all the challenges that are going on, you're unable to. But the point that I'm making is it's in your face all the time. In my time, it wasn't. Unless you actually sat at 6 o'clock, your folks were watching TV, and you were watching the news, then you even got snippets of it. But with social media right now, God forbid, if something were to happen right now, the house would be collapsed. Within 5 minutes, social media, somebody would say in Aspen, oh my God, these were the casualties. And so to read that every morning, like I get that you desensitize, but I'm sure there must be mornings when you go, oh my God, what is happening?
I feel like because of that, like our generation, I believe our generation is like so strong, like Gen Z. I feel like we're really strong. Like I remember in 2020, we fought against so much. Yes. And we did so much for our people and for the people before us and after us. So I feel like because we have our screens and everything is just showing us exactly what's happening, we do so much already. Like we have, like at my school, there's a lot of Ukrainian exchange students because of the problems in Ukraine right now. So like I feel like we do so much because we have so much information.
Yes, that's
so
true.
you're able to address
on your point too, like just because you didn't like have it in your face in your generation 24/7 doesn't mean like they weren't happening. You know what I mean, like, you were just naive. Like there was still like prime ministers getting assassinated. There was still like you know, economic crises abroad and whatnot, and trade routes getting blocked and things like that. There was still that occurring. You just weren't aware of it. But now that we're hyper aware of it, we're actually like taking action on a global basis. It's so easy to be like, damn, like Ukraine's in trouble. Like I can literally send money with like 3 buttons right on my phone. But like if you want to do that, you have to wait for the 6 o'clock news, get a check out, right? Send the check to Ukraine to like whatever organization. Like go to a phone book, you know what I'm saying?
You had to call it in.
But like it was still occurring though, right? Like those sort of things are still occurring in your generation. You were just like sort of unaware that it was even happening, but they're still happening now. Now we're just aware. You know what I'm saying?
So going back to what Nina said, I was just wondering, because we should talk about the fact that your generation went through the pandemic, which hopefully no other generation will ever have to do again, but the isolation, the masks, all that stuff. Can you talk about a little bit of what it was like going through that and how that changed you and what you think of how that would affect your future? Iman, you want to take a crack at that?
Like how COVID affected us?
How did it affect you, and how do you still think about that now?
It feels surreal, to be honest. Like I think back, I know in Victoria, where I'm like going to school, they're putting masks back on for like hospitals and stuff, and that's like, hey, we're done with this. Like I wash my hands of this. Like this is not happening anymore, you know. So it feels so weird that like that happened, and like that was life. And my friends and I always talk about we lost high school years, right? Like when I walked that stage, I didn't see my older brothers walk the stage before me, so it didn't feel like I was supposed to do it. It felt kind of like I wasn't supposed to do it, you know, because I watched them, I watched another one, and then I go, you know, and I know it, right? So I think that was different as the youngest child, but I also think mental health, like it took a turn for the worse for everybody, because obviously being stuck in a house doing the same thing, not having any purpose in life, just breaks you, and it frustrates. And then you have your family around, and obviously you're gonna bicker, you're gonna get frustrated, right? You get no escape. And that's why we would turn to social media, and that's why our like social media numbers were off the charts, because that's what we turned to, right? Yep. Our escape was technology. And I think that's now translated over with our laziness and like the conversation we had before. But I also think like mental health, like the problems we're seeing now is so much about COVID and technology kind of mixed together, because that was our normal, you know, we know like that was our normal. And I know for me, like scrolling on Instagram or Snapchat and seeing this girl's in Dubai and then this girl is doing this. And I'm like, that's their reality. Like here I am in my pajamas looking with like my raggy like bun or whatever and like everything. So I think it's really hard to decipher the truth from what's fake, you know? And I think that's with news and that's with everything. So going out of COVID and going out of that, you know, I consumed so much and it took a toll on me mentally because I was like, this is the truth. This has to be the truth, right? When even I know, like in my heart, that like, it's obviously not right. You take 30 photos to get one good one, and then people retouch and they filter and they you know, and they only put out the best versions of themselves, which is great, but it's also awful when you're in COVID and that's all you see is people's best version of themselves and how amazing and how much they're thriving and you're suffering. You feel like you're even worse, right? So I think like that now is something that I notice, you know, on my campus, right? We're talking a lot about mental health and stuff like that, and I think that just like being able to decipher the truth from this like alternative reality, which is social media. And I think that's like the biggest thing I've noticed. And again, like just our ability to get back into the groove of things and routines. Like I don't blame us that we're still kind of figuring it out, right?
Absolutely.
Like I think people are really harsh right now being like, oh, you know, everybody like back to school, like you want to come back, right? Like of course, but you don't know how to come back, right? You've just been doing the same thing for 3 years. 1 year bounce back time is just not it's not understanding. We lost stuff. We lost knowledge. Like, it's true, teachers, I'm sorry, but like kids cheated, kids FaceTimed, everything, right? So we lost knowledge and we're in university still, right? We still progressed as like age as if we did do stuff, but no, I didn't do my grade 10 year. I didn't do my grade 11 year, right? But now I'm in university. And so whatever I lost there, I have to now regain, but also do what's happening in the current. So I think people need to put less pressure on themselves to know everything and to like be okay, because it's okay that some things that happened years ago are still affecting you.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, I volunteered at a call center and it was documented that the group that was most affected by the pandemic was you guys. University students, high school students, they were the ones who were suffering more from mental health issues than any other age group. And so we really had to change focus and redirect how we were handling those phone calls that were coming in for kids your age that were suffering from that. But in that, I think that you guys can see your resiliency. Yes, you recognize the fact that this massive thing happened and now you guys have to go forward. How do you go forward? How do you recapture your life? How do you figure out how to be social again when you spent 2 years in your homes and being told that you can't talk to your friends?
What is like so dope about that is like it causes it takes a crisis to like have a solution, you know what I mean? Like the solution never comes before the problem, if that makes sense, right?
That's true.
So like it sucked that the pandemic highlighted these issues in that time frame, but now you look at the resources for like mental health issues now, like boomed, you know what I'm saying? Like it absolutely exploded past that. Like there's so many people on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, like social media platforms you're on, they're like, this is actually like my real life. This is what I actually look like you know what I mean? Like no filter or whatever. There's call centers nowadays, right? There's like 24/7 chat lines. Counselors are like at an all-time high for like necessities, therapists, psychiatrists, all that, right? The medication, like companies are booming this out because there's a huge boom of like, we need support in these areas. And it sucked that it caused like a crisis to have this sort of happen, but you needed that to occur. And now there's a big highlighter on these problems and now we're finding solutions for them in real time.
So would you say that gives you hope for the future in terms of just overall?
I think, like I said, it's just like a natural occurrence. Like I think and as a human population, we follow a pattern where there's a problem and then we find a solution and then that solution becomes the norm and then there's a new problem that occurs and then that becomes the norm again. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it takes. That like, I'm sure we can go time and time over examples of like in your generation, right? Even like, I'm sure like back in the day, I remember like having to tell my dad, like, yo, you have to cough in your elbow. I was like, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have to do that. But then like it caused like the Ebola virus or whatever it was. That was a huge scare, right? And everyone's like, okay, cough into your elbow. And people started teaching that way. People were like, cough in your hand, right? And then that changed to cough in your elbow. And then that changed to whatever else, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there is hope.
So it took a problem, and then there's going to be a solution, and there's going to be another problem, it's going to take another solution, and like it's so on and so forth, and the wheel keeps turning, if that makes sense.
But I think it's like still so backed up. Like we just got out of the pandemic. Like I know mental health resources are backed up, like, right, to Timbuktu. Like, yes, we have all these resources, but I think we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Like I can look at even these girls who are posting like, this is the real me, no filter. They get to decide and they get to look at themselves in the mirror. And if they're having a good day, they post it, right? It is not like, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna go on my phone and post that, right? So I think, yes, we're starting to hit a turning point of like learning to just not be, not fake, but like out of touch with reality, you know, or just putting forth the best reality we can create. So I think, yes, obviously we were hitting a turning point, but at the same time, it's still not truthful. And I think, and we're still, yes, there's all these mental health resources and everybody screams mental health until you actually need it. And then you're like, wait a minute, I call my doctor, oh, it's backed up actually, and you can't get the help you need, you know? Or, and then the medication, right? We have inflation. Oh, you know what, you're out of a job because of COVID. Well, you can't get that medication because you don't have any like health,
isn't that
insurance.
just like a gorgeous way of like to go hand in hand with, we lose job opportunities here and then this gets backed up, right? So now we need more jobs, we need to have more funding in this area. So then it opens like more doors for people to go into those sections now, right? Because we become hyper aware of that. So the guys that work at the grocery store, right? Because they got taken over by computers or whatever it was, right? Now they have to work the kids' helplines, right? And that's how just like I feel like the world works. Like because the door closes here, it opened up over there, if that adds up.
But do you guys feel that through COVID, your mentals were like low because of watching what other people were doing, or just because of the isolation?
Like mental health?
Yeah, like
you know, a little bit of both.
It's good for a bit of both.
Yeah, because like Iman was saying, social media is an alternate perception of reality. Like, not everyone is a 17-year-old cryptocurrency genius who's driving like 10 Lamborghinis. But like as a person on social media, that's all you see is the best of the best. So you're comparing yourself to that constantly, and you're like, yeah, I'm stuck at home doing nothing. I don't have that connection with my friends going to school. I feel like I'm accomplishing nothing right now.
Sitting here doing nothing.
Yeah, so I think all that together definitely made like mental health overall go down for almost everybody. Like, especially more extroverted people like Jamal or yourself, you know, like
Oh, I'll talk about
you
mental
rely
health.
so much on like human interactions, what makes you happy, it brings you so much joy.
Yeah.
And then you just don't get that at all.
Yeah, also kind of speaking about that, the human interaction thing, like a lot of us were in our own space with our own heads. We didn't have a lot of distractions from other people. Because I know like I struggle with a lot with anxiety, but when I'm with people that I'm comfortable with, it's like I've never had anxiety in my life. But when I'm by myself and I'm like thinking about everything, that's when it comes back.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of what, it wasn't only what we're seeing on the internet, it was kind of just being alone in ourselves and in our own brains that made our mental health.
Yeah, like for me personally, let me tell you about my experience. So I loved COVID. Like it was the most fun time I've ever had.
No, I had a blast.
Because I had to do stuff for school.
Keep their mind.
And it was awesome. I got to hang out with my friends, got to take a walk. I didn't hang out with my friends.
Sorry, you did what?
I got to FaceTime my friends, take walks, and like all that stuff. My problem wasn't COVID, it was the repercussions from COVID. Because when COVID kind of completely ended, it was university first year for me. And I went out in the real world as a 15-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid because I did not grow at all through COVID. I
Stayed the same.
I was in my own comfort. I loved it. But as soon as I stepped out again, I was not ready to face those obstacles and face those challenges. And me being me, I kind of have an ego. Like I wasn't gonna admit that I had like picked the wrong decision or whatnot, or that I was wrong or stupid. But like, but yeah, I'm not stupid for anyone that's wondering. But I wasn't ready to face it, and that sent me spiraling. I threw away the next year because I was just trying to play catch up with my own life because I lost that time. You know, I spent it 9 hours a day on social media. I spent it doing all these things and stepped out in the world and got slapped across the face.
What you don't recognize though, like going through COVID, is like you might not have been prepared in like these ways, but like it also prepared you in ways you like subtly, you know what I'm saying? Like
I agree with that.
Things like being on Zoom calls now and doing class like that, you've learned Zoom etiquette now. And that might not seem like a big deal to you now, but now it's become the norm, right? Like now you're literally having meetings like over the phone, right? You're literally having whole class sessions with 200 plus kids. Now you know how to interact, you know how to type a question in the chat or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You know how to interact with people across the world digitally, things of that nature now. And that you guys don't, like I missed out on like how to do chemistry or whatever the hell you missed out on, right? Like I didn't learn it to the full capability. But you also learn like other super useful skills that become the norm because of that crisis you had to go through. Yeah. And now those are being used day to day.
For me, I found that I kid you not, I enjoyed COVID so much because growing up, I've always been the social life of the party The guy that you always need, you know, like the superstar. I'm still going. You guys are not gonna stop me?
Yeah,
You're not gonna stop me?
No, it's true. It was a beautiful time to be a sister.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Let me behave myself. You know, but growing up, I've always been the social person, right? Then when COVID hit, I actually kind of got in tune with self because I realized a lot of the time, since I was young, I've always performed. I've always played piano. You've been there. I've played piano for like big crowds. I've always sang in front of people. Like my validation always came from other people. Growing up, that's kind of how it's always been. I've been the performer my whole life. I don't know anything else aside from being the performer. When COVID came, I realized that I should actually reassess and be affirming within self rather than seeking validation from, and a lot of people need to learn that. I'm going to put this on TV. A lot of people need to learn to find validation from themselves, not from outside.
All right, Mr.
Perfect, yes, round of applause for me. I'm sorry. But like,
that point that you learned, that is so important, and we wish that all our kids learned that.
It is.
It's not from social media. It's not from whatever it is that you think or getting the most likes or whatever the heck it is. You have to have that validation
you gotta
inside
affirm
you.
it in here.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
that's what COVID taught me. Because then when I went to university, I realized that a lot of people were, you know, because you know, when you meet a new crowd, people want to talk about you and say stuff like that. Sure. A lot of people had so many notions about me. And I was just here like, that's so sad that you guys think that. And I walked away. You know, a lot of people going through life will have those interactions and they'll completely break down. Because they've forgotten how to love themselves. They've been looking for love from other people. They're looking to affirm within. So I personally loved COVID because it taught me that you are your biggest fan and you are the only person that has you. You know, you're the only, your opinion of you is the only one that should matter. Whatever anyone else says about you, it should be flattering because they just can't stop thinking about you.
Oh,
Realistically, that's how I perceive it.
Okay, time.
Yeah.
Let's
So,
stop.
I mean, I kind of liked it that way. But I understand a lot of people went through a lot of like social deprivation in the sense that they could not see their friends, and you know, you and I would call like the whole
all the
time,
time.
you know. But I feel like through that, still, I think some lessons could have been learned, like how Brock was saying. Even though we couldn't see each other, you know, or we mentally were in these predicaments, 2 doors opened up to learn to be with yourself and find comfort within yourself.
So the final minute, I want to do a machine gun round. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to just say yes or no, because I am really curious to know if you think that there's hope for the future, for your future, in terms of, do you think that it's going to be a great future or there's going to be a lot of work to be done?
Just for like me personally, or like
For
Gen
your
Z?
future, your generation.
For you.
Yeah, I think that there's hope.
Yeah. Nina?
I believe that there's hope, yeah.
Ethan?
There's so much hope, it's scary.
Brock? Sorry, Jahan?
Yeah, absolutely, I believe so.
Jamal?
Hell no.
We are doomed. Who cast this kid?
Somebody get this guy.
Yeah, I'm a little depressed.
What's your thoughts?
I agree with Jamal.
That's what I'm just saying. Okay.
We have to back each other up.
Yeah.
This has been a very eye-opening experience for me. We talked about some really good things, especially the challenges with social media and how integral it is to your generation. I want to thank all of you for being here and for giving us the opportunity to help tell your stories. This is the last episode of this show, and it feels so amazing to be a part of this. I want to thank the crew, I want to thank the amazing volunteers, and I want to thank you, the audience, for allowing us into your homes. I'm Aisha, and we'll see you on the next experience.
You can dig yourself out when you're down and you're out. You're surviving, you tell you somehow.